The results are in with the Lido Key Pavilion. Stay tuned, we'll share that and a whole lot more. Good morning. My name is Mike Renick. I'm the senior broker, the team lead with Team Renick Real Estate Services, part of that great Keller Williams on the Water family, serving the west coast of Florida. My guest this morning is Mr. Stephen Reed. Welcome, Steve.
Good morning.
He is the owner, publisher of the Longboat Key News. Let me just do a little brief before we get started. This is not your typical Florida day. I'm wearing a jacket. The wind is loud. You may hear some of that. But we promise to bring you Florida in its raw state. So not every day is sunny, almost every day, but not every day. So we've got a little bit of wind today, and you'll get a chance to see that with the cloudiness and stuff. But what we want to do, we're back at the Lido Key Pavilion. We talked about it last week, and Steve is here to share an update on what's happened with the City Council.
Okay, well, it was a very interesting week and a major meeting in City Hall. As we said last week, the residents, about 5,400 of them, have signed a petition. They don't want this Lido Beach Public Pool Pavilion to be turned into a restaurant and bar with a 10-year lease and 2 10-year options amounting to being tied up for 30 years. They fought it all the way for a year and a half. They've been against this plan. The owners of the Daiquiri Deck, Gavin Meshat and Troy Seifert, showed up with their attorney, Bill Merrill, into City Hall last week. And it was interesting, you know, the way these City Hall meetings work is it's very factional. You had their crew, their attorneys, their architects sitting in the middle, and some of their supporters. And then there was a sea of opposition, all getting the little cards. They were going to speak, probably
right.
200 of them.
Let me explain that, because not everyone watching may understand. So at a city council meeting, if as a resident or someone who has some skin in the game wants to speak, you fill out a card ahead of time.
Yeah.
And they call up your name.
And you get your 3 minutes to say your piece. And if you take 200 people times 3 minutes, you were looking at hours and hours of testimony as to why this shouldn't happen.
Right.
But it all got short-circuited because, as attorneys often do, behind the scenes, there was some movement going on. And what happened was Bill Merrill comes up and he says, my applicants want to terminate the lease and are seeking to continue the meeting and work out a deal to end the lease agreement and withdraw the plan. He said that they realize how profound the opposition is. Okay. They don't feel it'd be good to have the community, to be in business in a community that's so adamantly opposed to the proposal. They do own the Daiquiri Deck and probably want these people not to have literally a bad taste in their mouth when they come to the Daiquiri Deck.
So they want to be, it sounds like to me, they want to be a good community citizen.
Good community citizen, and I think they saw also there's some mechanics involved. In order to succeed, they needed to win the vote at that meeting. They needed to convince the commission that it was compatible with the community and so if they felt they weren't going to win, they're better off withdrawing the plan in advance, and they didn't do it for free. They've asked to be reimbursed for their expenses, which is estimated to be about $175,000 in attorney fees and so on and so forth. So they want to be compensated for time and money that they've put into this, and then they'll walk away from it.
That intrigues me, let me say.
It's very intriguing.
It puzzles me, actually.
It's not a done deal, but
let me see if I understand. So I wanted to fight what the residents want, and I spent some money, and so now I want to pull out and I'd like to be paid for my time and effort.
Correct.
Okay?
Yes.
Help me understand that concept.
Well, have you ever hung out with the attorneys? They can argue these kind of things and make it, it's not so much that they make it seem reasonable, it's a calculus. They say, and here's the argument is, look, city, if you approve it, you're going to be sued by the opponents and spend a lot of money litigating. if you turn this down, we'll sue you. And you'll still spend
For what?
175. So it's almost like
But for what grounds could they sue if the city turned it down?
the grounds that it does meet the zoning requirements and they shouldn't turn it down, and that
Okay.
their evidence, you can sue for anything really. And
I
the
know,
city
I
has to
understand.
defend itself. And so it is just a threat, but then the story gets even deeper. Just when you think that's the terms.
I like this. This is good.
Another attorney gets up, and I love this guy, John Patterson. He's been a local attorney for years and years, and he represents Mark Walsh, who has worked with the community and joined hands with the community against the plan. Mark Walsh, who does own a lot of resorts in the area, the Lido Beach Resort. He owns the old Helmsley Sandcastle, which will be transformed into a major new resort. He owns the Holiday Inn, owns Zoda on Longboat, owns the Longboat Key Club. He pledged to donate, of course, the magic amount of $175,000 to the city if the city agrees to withdraw the plan and terminate the lease, and in addition, does not offer it up for lease again to a private entity, keeps it in its Parks and Recs department, and renovates it the way the residents said they wanted, which is as a park amenity. You know, fix the restrooms, put up a shade structure so when you're eating your lobster roll, you're not suffering in the heat. And one of the other things is keep the pool maintained. And spiff it up. It needs to make it. The roof needs to be repaired.
But keep the ambience. Right now, when you walk around here, to me, it's got the island motif. I like the coloring. The structures they're not brand new. I like that. So would that be part of the plan to keep that, or?
Yeah, I think that economically, first of all, there's some FEMA issues. If you try to just scrape this and build anew, you run into that. It is a Tim Siebert designed building, which gives it a legacy for the community.
I really, really like it.
And I think the world, you know this in real estate, you don't sell it if it doesn't look somewhat modern these days. So I think that kind of makeover could be accomplished. The city has $1.3 million earmarked, allocated to do the renovations. They have, if they work this out, $175,000 from Mark Walsh. That would obviously go to those applicants. So it basically would be a cost of doing business. It would end the challenges peacefully. It's almost paying them to go away. It's like a divorce. Go away, here's the money, and we get to move on. And that's sort of the idea behind his proposal. In my personal opinion, yeah, you could fight and say they don't deserve it. That's the risk they took. But I think the city staff have to take some blame. They led them down the path. They said this is what the community and we want. And Tom Barwin and staff fought for them. They were advocating their plan against the residents. So the city caused some of this disconnect. So some of the blame kind of falls on them.
But before it got to the city council, didn't it go through the planning commission?
It went...
Or zoning, or there's steps before, right?
Well, the lease, what they did was the city put out an intent to negotiate. And they said, you know, here's what we want fixed. They came with this grandiose plan, and the city said, okay, we can kind of crowbar that in here. And then the city didn't require a real traffic plan. The city did not consider it a major use. They used all their interpretations by staff and by the city attorney, benefited the applicant, and gave them encouragement. They basically said, yeah, we believe it conforms. And they argued that and pitted really the residents against the city and the applicant. So I admire in a way that the applicants are stepping up. They realize this is, like you said, they are in the community. They're good guys. I don't think they're not the enemies of the people. They had a big plan. The people don't want it. I think they're doing a smart move. So
that makes sense. So what's happening is all of this is coming together. Are there more final decisions to be made?
No, here's what's going to happen is the city attorney and the attorney, Bill Merrill and John Patterson, they'll be huddling and communicating in this time frame. There'll be another meeting with the city commission at the regular meeting in February. This is going to be on the agenda, and I think then it'll either come to fruition that they're withdrawing the lease application, or they'll say, no, we're going to move forward. They reserve their right to move forward, so it's not a done deal.
Okay.
No, but it's...
That would be interesting if they elect to do that. with the opposition that's strong, right?
I think it would be a huge mistake. I don't think that's what they want to do. I think they want some money and compensation, and they just want to come out and be made whole and all those good things.
So more to follow. The council meeting is first half or second half of February?
Second half, I think it's the 17th of February. We'll put that on the Longboat Key News website. We'll be writing stories about it, and we'll definitely do an update.
We'll come
afterwards.
back and talk about that.
One thing that's worth mentioning is I've never seen an issue galvanize a community like this, and I think if you take aside the politics of it, it just shows how much people love this area. They love this beach. They love, I mean, this is a dilapidated facility, but people still love it. They've come here for years. And so it goes to show that sometimes it's important to preserve what we have.
It's part of the island mystique, motif, whatever the right word is. This is part of why I like living on the island. It is unique. It's like stepping back a little bit in time, right?
It is. There's a lot of history here. I recommend people come out here and walk around, read the signs. There's placards depicting how it was a segregated beach and the fight that went on to open this area up to everybody. The lobster rolls here are pretty amazing. They do a great job. I mean, they do serve beer and wine, and that's all that's allowed. So people enjoy it. You can see it's low key, and I think it's going to stay. I'm optimistic. I think it's going to stay like this.
Well, Steve, I appreciate your update. Once again, your knowledge of the community is second to none. Your willingness to share it with us is also second to none. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be back again next week.
See you then.
All right, Steve, thanks. Take
Bye.
care.